Hello everyone, Trackmaster914 aka Josh Lee here, and I'm here to say that, for those who don't know, the Tracks Pro series and Iron War series are pretty much officially done. But there's a series that's revamping, basically kind of a sequel to it, spin-off in a sense, I don't know, basically just taking off where the Tracks Pro series, went down. But before that season could even start, I feel a need to go through all 36 drivers that, should be expected to see. A few of them are part-time, but most of them are full-time, so should be interesting to see at the very least. But I'll tell you the description of these guys, the lore behind them, and probably what to expect, though I'm not sure about that yet. But anyways, let's just get into it. Alright, so I'm going to be going team by team by number order. So essentially the first team I'm starting off with is Red Lightning Racing. First up is Gigi Marlin, who apparently self-proclaimed herself as the embodiment of chaotic good. And apparently during her days as a VTuber, she had an interest in racing games that would lead her to start out the sport to much success, surprisingly enough, and hopes to really show off her talents here. Now, Jay Roy was dubbed the Paul Newman of Norway, as he is the rising star of the Norwegian film scene. Where surprisingly enough, that's where he found his love for motorsports while filming a movie scene at a monster truck event. With a bit of sports car experience, he decided to move over to America. Now, 19 of Adam Irwin has quite the interesting story, as he's been a lifelong racing fan, basically trying to get his name out there as much as he could. And it seemed to have worked, as he got a shot to run the Tracks Pro series for season 5 that sadly never happened. But he's here to finally prove himself in what is essentially a spin-off. No Gear Motorsports is a full-car operation, though one of them is part-time, starting off with David Jones. David Jones is the Texas Track Championship, and apparently has a whole lot of success in the Cars Tour. And the biggest question is whether or not that success translates to here. This is an interesting member of the No Gear Motorsports operation, Harrison Fox in a Chick-fil-A 17 from Sydney, Australia. And actually, not only does he have Chick-fil-A as a sponsor, he actually used to work there. Then proceeded to move over to America to spend 1 year in ARCA for whatever reason. Kevin Jones over here is part-time and is the twin brother of David Jones, who has 2 track championships at Texas and only won like 3 times in the Cars Tour, and is basically stuck in David's shadow, as David is clearly the more successful twin. But can he get out of it? Then we got the 83 of Taylor Lane. Not much to say about him per se, but apparently he's an amazing dirt driver with over 35 victories in just 3 years. And with that success, I guess he thought it was time to switch over to asphalt, which is actually perfect timing when you think about it. We have an independent who likes a lot of M&Ms, and I mean a lot. Some guy by the name of Pratt Bitt, which honestly sounds familiar. I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking it, but since he's going solo, it makes things a bit tougher, but who knows, maybe sometimes going solo is better. CarX Motorsports is a 2-car operation, starting off with the 5 of Joshua Barkley out of San Antonio, Texas. Pretty much nothing is known about him, but I guess he likes In-N-Out Burgers because they're sponsoring him. But then again, who knows? I just don't know. But see how it goes in the Ford Fusion. Then we have the 15 of Daniel Lyons, which is an interesting case because he's sponsored by both Little Caesars and McDonald's. I don't know how he got those deals to work together. I feel like they would be somewhat competing. But then again, maybe that's just me being stupid, as he hails from Loveland, Ohio. So let's see how that goes. All-American Racing consists of 2 cars, both starting with 0, so the 06 and 08. But let's start off with the 06 of Landon Taylor. Really not much known about him. Apparently just not really any sponsorship to speak of, so I guess just have a lot of money. But as you can tell from the car, he decided to have a lot of fun with the design. Maybe it's good luck. Then we got his brother, the 08 of Michael Taylor. Now, he is sponsored by 704 Games of all things. Not sure if that's good luck or bad luck. Forgot to mention, they both are based out of Missouri, or the St. Louis area of Missouri. So, not sure how it's going to go for him, or his brother. Of TG Racing, we got the 7 car of Lourdes de Fayette. out of Atlanta, Georgia. Now, Laura is still really new to racing stock cars, though she feels really confident, especially with the backing of Dodge itself. At least I think it is. Now, though Marcus de Jesus is a few years older than Laura, he basically has just about the same experience as her. But TG Racing still signed him on with full confidence. So the question is, can they go big or go home in the SARS Tour? We have owner driver here, Zach Miller, in the number 8 AutoZone Ford Fusion, with a bit of flex tape on the side. Now, he had been quite the racing fan in his hometown of Stockbridge, Georgia, and started karting at the age of 12, and also became quite the Legends racer. Okay, this sounds like quite the character in the 9 car. We have Johnny Johnster III out of Talladega, Alabama, of Johnny Motorsports. That sounds based. Nothing is really known about this guy except for the fact that he probably has the most base name in the field, and apparently lived in the pit lane of Talladega itself. Team Harris Racing just has 2 cars with, I think who is the team leader himself, Milan Harris, who has won pretty much all over the world when it comes to go-karting, and now starting in the good old SARS Tour. Quite the interesting story and quite the experience. Well, at least it's, more experience than a lot of other guys. John Wren has actually quite a bit more experience than his team leader, and that's probably why he was hired, even though it's only part-time. And number 31 Dodge Challenger, which is sponsored by Xbox, and pretty much quite the Formula 1 experience, specifically with Haas of all teams. Cropley Motorsports had built quite the empire throughout Tracks Pro Series and Iron Warrior Series during the second half of either series' lifespan, with one of the drivers being a part of that being, well, Craig Bracken. Things kind of went rough for him in Tracks Pro Series 4, but let's see if he could bounce back here. Then we have the leader of the empire himself, Colin Cropley. And this guy, my goodness, this poor guy basically felt like the Sheldon Creed of the second half of Tracks Pro Series 4. And honestly, he probably needs this resurgence more than everyone else. Or at least it feels like it given how big his team is. And lastly, we have one of the earliest members of the infamous Cropley Empire, that being Mitchell Hodak. Now, he's always been a mixed bag, though things did not end well for him near the end of Tracks Pro Series 4. He was basically out for injury for the rest of it. So this is essentially his comeback story. Alright, next up we have 2-car operation of Mountaintop Racing, starting off with Kenichi Tanabe. Now, apparently Tanabe is quite the full-time programmer in his off time. Let's see if that translates to race pace. I mean, who really knows? Like, some of these guys have surprised me before. The 35 of Will Young is an even weirder case. Now, apparently, both Tanabe and Young are online friends, and are pretty much the ones who got this team together. Now, Tanabe may be a programmer, but Will, of all things, is a dating counselor. May God help us all. Then we got Javon American, that's quite a name, being described as a kind, autistic son of a gun who is a die-hard NASCAR fan at heart. And although this isn't NASCAR, as close as it gets. I mean, he's had a dream of driving stock cars anyway. The 45 of Sarah Taylor for Silly Thing Racing, apparently formerly known as Skylar Taylor, so I guess she switched up her name. Maybe that might help her out, as Tracks Pro Series and Iron Warrior Series weren't exactly going the best for her, so just have to wait and see what happens for her here. Although Sarah Taylor is technically a familiar face, Sasha Bright is someone brand spanking new from good old Rhode Island or Massachusetts, one or the other. And there's honestly not much info or background around her, except for the fact that she's really good at road courses, so at least there's that. Daredevil Motorsports was a team that made a lot of noise during the Tracks Pro Series Season 4 campaign. In fact, Satsuki Himigari here won about 2 races, or maybe 3, I forgot. And although the season didn't end how she wanted it to, even before the cancellation, she's hoping to do something good here. Now, Kana Lemon here is partial owner of the team, and I think she still is. And she owned her own team in the Iron Wars series, and she's actually found some success in both, so let's see how she could do here. Maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll be worse, who really knows. And here we have a driver who only ran the Iron Wars series, that is Jonathan Denmark. And sadly, his season was so rough that he decided to retire for the Iron Wars Season 4, which ultimately never happened as SARS is going on now. But with a somewhat soft reboot of the series, if you want to call it that, I guess he thought it was best to give it another go. Then we got the 64 for Xandretti Allsport, a guy by the name of Xander Jeffrey. Not much is known for him except for the fact that he's also from Australia, so just like Harrison Fox in the 17. Though not much is really said about him, so it's kind of unknown whether or not he'll do good, but we'll just have to wait and see. Back Row Racing is an interesting team name, starting off with our part-time entry, Bobby Bob. Bobby Bob. In the 66 WeatherTech Dodge Challenger. Pretty much little to no knowledge on him, except probably the strangest name of the entire field. Then again, I might be stretching it. Actually, no, I take it back, because Jimmy Jim is a name, and the number 87 Monster Energy / M&M's Dodge Challenger. What are these names, man? Now, Bobby Bob is from Concord, North Carolina, while Jimmy Jim is from Springfield. I assume that's also North Carolina. Miles Tails Trower, apparently from Green Hill Zone, and it's called Team Sonic. This guy, I don't know what it is. I mean, I could be wrong here, but it sounds like he's a massive Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Who would have thought? Stephen Waters Racing is a 2-car operation, starting off with Carl Horsevar, who has quite a bit of racing experience. Ran in the NASCAR Truck Series for a little bit. Not much to say about him, but, see how he does here. Then there's the guy that this team's named after, Stephen Waters himself, who, has quite the dirt racing background. But not only that, has raced in the Tracks Pro Series and Iron Warrior Series for quite a long time, and now that it's shut down, he's come back with a fresh start, fresh perspective. Let's see how he does. For Thunder Shark Racing, there's only one entry for Thunder Shark Racing, and that is Colt Williamson from Alliance, Ohio, who has deemed himself to be quite the BattleBots fanboy, as you can tell from the car there. And the main thing about him is that he is racing in honor of a fallen friend. Hope he does well.